Hi, welcome to my channel. This is Cheryl, and I am starting a new painting today. And so far, he's titled Nature's Bandit, little raccoon, resting on a tree trunk. So I'm working on the bark of the trunk today, and I had laid in my pattern that I'm going to do. Just the basic details, not too many details, but basic outline of the raccoon and some of the areas where the lights and darks meet, so that I can map it out. And the tree trunk I'm going to be doing completely freehand. I'm not using any reference. I'm just making some bark texture. So this is how I'm doing it. I'm starting off with my airbrush and some sepia, and I am laying down some color, and I go back in with a eraser and I start to erase back some texture into the paint. And you'll see that I go back and forth and many layers to get the depth and texture that I'm looking for. I also am looking for a darker color to not be so in your face, because my focal point is the raccoon. So I'm trying for maybe a weathered look. So I'm going back in now with some more sepia, and I'm starting to carve out the crevices in the bark of the tree. So it's entirely random, just working in like a wood texture, allowing for the breakage of the separation of the exterior part of the tree trunk to give it that bark look. So I have some color down, and now I'm using a scratch tool and I'm scratching back some edges and some texture into the wood grain. And I keep doing this back and forth with color and scratching, and you'll see as it progresses, I have different textures in there, and I have different colors of, the sepia, and I work with burnt umber and a little bit of black. So right now I'm just scratching into the surface of the paint, getting some edges and some, starting to create the bark of the tree. And just roughing it in, really. So I'm going back in with some more sepia and carving out those little crevices and cracks with the darker paint against the scratched white of the canvas. It's completely random. And it should be random because the bark of a tree is very random texture. So this is how it looks now. And we keep going, racing back more texture. So after I did that, I did a light coat of sepia over the entire thing to knock everything back down and give it a little more color. So because I did that, my dark crevices got a little washed out. So I go back in and I start to deepen them again. I'm getting real close with the airbrush and really getting some fine texture in there. I went over it again with the scratch tool, and now I'm doing a wash, a glaze over with some more sepia. Like I said, it's many layers, back and forth. Now I'm going in with a little burnt umber over top because my light source is coming in from the right side of the canvas, and I need to have a little bit shading going on under his left cheek. And then we go back in with the scratch tool. And I really went to town. Go back in with some more sepia, another wash. Now I'm using my 20-0 liner brush and heading back in and deepening those crevices again against the stark white of the scratching. Because when you do the wash, the glazes, it does tend to mute out your colors, so I want to make sure I got that detail in there. Now I go back in with some, it's yellow ochre mixed with a little white. I didn't want the stark white. I wanted to add a little bit of yellow ochre in there. And I'm just putting in some more detail. Dry brushing also helps with the bark texture. And if you don't know what I mean by dry brushing, it's when the paint, there's not much paint left on your brush and you continue to just drag it across the surface of the canvas. It gives you a different skipped texture. So now I'm going back over it with a little bit more of the ochre, not the ochre, I'm sorry, the burnt umber, to tone it all down again. Again, reinforcing my dark crevices. Reinforcing my highlights again, and I'm getting there. tree to really be distracting in the painting. A little more glaze work. Also, I'm getting the sepia color in there, a little bit of the yellow ochre in there. It all adds to the weathered look of the bark of the tree. Getting down to the fine details now. You may think a lot of this is unnecessary, but I just keep working it back and forth until I get the look that I'm after. Now, being very particular about a little bit of glaze work now, I'm doing with sepia. Being more particular about it. In my shading along the raccoon's cheek there. So now what I'm starting to work on the raccoon, and this is just the foundation that I'm starting with. It's just a light coat of sepia in the darkest of areas on the raccoon, and it's going to take many layers to get this painting done. So this is just the very first foundation, and I'm just setting in, mapping in really, the darkest areas of my raccoon, and I build my paint up layer by layer in the different areas. So first I'm working on the darkest areas of the raccoon, and we'll go on to part 2 of this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you.